Yeah. Thank you for coming. We just had a productive lunch, and as you may have heard today, I gave a speech about one of the most pressing and consequential issues and innovations of our time, and that is AI. I laid out my ideas about a comprehensive framework Congress can use to supercharge AI innovation in a safe and responsible way. I call it the Safe Innovation Framework for AI. I call it that because innovation must be our North Star. AI could be our most spectacular innovation yet, a force that could ignite a new era of technological advancement, scientific discovery, industrial might. So, we must come up with a plan that encourages, not stifles, innovation. But if people don't think innovation can be done safely, it will stifle AI's development and even prevent us from moving forward. So that's why my Safe Innovation Framework calls for certain guidelines, guardrails rather, for security, accountability, protecting our foundations, and lastly, explainability, which is one of the most important and most difficult technical issues in all of AI. Congress has never had to deal with issues like AI before. Why is it different? Well, first, we don't have much of a history with it. It's not like labor or healthcare or defense, where we've had a whole history that we can work off of. Experts are not even sure. Experts, yikes. It's quite a day. Experts. I had a good joke, but I stifled myself. Can I tell my staff and get it off my chest? No. Okay. Congress, as I said, we don't have the history, and the experts are not even sure which questions policymakers should be asking. In many ways, we're just starting from scratch. So, because AI is so fast-moving, so complex, and so outside Congress's expertise, I also announced, in addition to our SAFE framework, and you can get a copy of the speech, we elaborated on what all of these SAFE and innovation mean. But I'm going to invite the top AI experts to come to Congress and convene a series of first-ever AI Insight Forums for a new and unique approach to developing AI legislation. These Insight Forums are the first of their kind. They have to be, because AI moves quickly, will change our world dramatically, is deeper in its complexity, and lacks legislative history. Our job as legislators will be listening to these experts on 9 different issue areas within AI. We're going to call the leading experts and have them sit and discuss with each other how do we deal with these issues. Let me give you one quick example. Company-driven AI or open AI. Now, if it's company-driven, how do newer startups, newer groups get that information? On the other hand, if it's open, can't our enemies get hold of it? Can't rogue actors get hold of it? Can't groups that want to use it for financial extortion or ideological purity get hold of it? So, these forums will have the experts come together and do in a few days what might take months or years to come together if you went to each of them separately and they all just said what they thought. So we need an all-of-above approach, but our committees have to continue to be the key drivers. These forums are not to replace or supplant the committees. They're to give the committees the fuel they need to actually draft good, strong legislation. And we need bipartisanship as we work in all of this. That's why I established a group of senators, Senators Heinrich, Young, and Rounds, and I thank them for their work, and as well as relying on committee chairs. And last week at our chairs meeting, I asked every one of our chairs to reach out to their ranking member and see what they thought they could do in their committees on AI. Okay? Now, no question this is ambitious. And I have a word that I use to describe what we're doing, humility. We need humility as we proceed because this is hard. We're going to come work, but we have to do it. or the alternative is worse. We're going to work very hard to come up with comprehensive legislation. Because it's so important, we're going to do everything we can to succeed. Success is not guaranteed. AI is unlike anything we've dealt with before, and it's difficult. But even if we can find some solutions and create a degree of consensus to deal with some of AI's many challenges, we've got to pursue it. So that's what we're doing there. Now, second issue. Today, the Senate will reach a major milestone. In a few minutes, we'll confirm our 100th district judge under President Biden, with Natasha Murrell for the Eastern District of New York. Many of these 100 judges have knocked down long-standing barriers in the halls of justice. The first Muslim district judge, the first woman of color to be district judges in Maryland and Oregon, the first openly LGBTQ judge in Puerto Rico, and the list goes on and on and on. And you know the statistics, how much diversity we've sought, not only demographic diversity, more than 2/3 women and people of color, but also professional diversity. They're not just lawyers from law firms or prosecutors. It's much more across the board. So hitting the milestone of 100 judges are significant. Our bench is now far more balanced and diverse and more experienced than the one we had a few years ago, and we're going to keep at it. Okay, questions? Yes.
Thank you. In your mind, what are the worst-case scenarios associated with the AI challenge?
There are lots of there's so many different issues that face us. You know, how do you deal with, the two big questions are, how do you encourage innovation and yet have guardrails that prevent AI from going off track? And the guardrails are on these categories. How do we preserve democracy? How do we keep our elections fair? AI would allow somebody to come up with a very convincing false image of any senator or congressman, Democrat or Republican, and they send it to 100 million homes. You can't put that genie back where they say ridiculous things. Elizabeth Warren brought up at our lunch today that there's an AI video of her saying Republicans shouldn't vote, but looks like her, sounds like her, acts like her. So we have so many different areas. And the toughest, and this is a little bit of a lesson, is what I'd call explainability. When the AI's process spits back a paragraph, a sentence, an answer, you want to know where it comes from. And you want to know why it was chosen and something else wasn't chosen. I'll give you a facile example. So there's this great diet, and it's very convincing and written to convince tens of millions of people, but it says eat a lot of hot dogs. Well, if you knew it came from Oscar Mayer, or you knew they took the words from Oscar Mayer ad, you'd know something. It's one of many examples. Yes?
What is your reaction to the Hunter Biden DOJ plea deal?
Look, I think that there should be no political or outside interference, and the law ought to go forward. Yes?
Mr. Schumer, do you agree with President Biden's assessment that President Xi is a dictator, and do you think that was a responsible thing for President Biden?
Well, look, I'd say he has many, many autocratic tendencies. They are not an open and full-fledged democracy, to say the least. Yes?
An unusual question. My question's already been asked. You are former rules chairman. Do you believe that the president should be able to have devices?
The what?
Should we be able to have devices in the Senate gallery, like Senator
I'd have
and like we use in the House chamber?
I'd have to defer to Senator Klobuchar on that. It's a while back since I was rules chairman. Yes? I can't hear you. Look, the committee is meeting now, and we're going to try to do everything we can to get a good NDA bill passed. Obviously, I'm opposed to abortion restrictions in that bill. Yes, Bolton, and then...
Judiciary Committee Chairman Dick Durbin and Sheldon Whitehouse are marking up Supreme Court ethics legislation after the July 4th recess. Would you bring that to the floor, or would you have to see at least 10 Republican votes for it?
Well, look, I support their bill. It's going to come out of Judiciary. Let's see what happens there first. Yes, last one.
Is Julie Su going to get a vote in this chamber?
Look, she is a very good nominee, and we are working hard to try and get her confirmed. Thank you, everybody.